Welcome back to On to Football, another Football Tip Friday video. Today we're going to be learning 5 things that you can do to be a better QB. A lot of guys always ask me questions on what you can do to be better at certain positions, so today I thought I'd work with an expert in quarterback training. This is Greg Holcomb. He is the founder and quarterback instructor at Next Level Athletics. He trains all over the U.S.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we train quarterbacks from youth right around 5th, 6th grade all the way up to collegiate and anywhere in between. We do private one-on-one training, we do some group training, and then we also have our Rise and Fire Camp, which is in Los Angeles in January, Orlando in February, Dallas in March, and then in Chicago we are in June. So we have those every year annually, and we'll be having those again in 2018.
So now Greg is going to show us the 5 things that we can do to be a better QB.
So 5 really easy things. We're going to talk about ball carriage, so where you place the ball pre-pass. The second one is going to be your ball shelf, so right after the load position where you create energy for power. The third is going to be your base, so your throwing platform. The fourth is your weight distribution. And then the fifth is going to be your posture, so how you stand at the top of your drop.
Cool. Let's get started.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is ball carriage. Now some coaches, they want the ball high because there is an understanding that it's easier to get the ball back and out faster. We totally disagree with that because it takes energy away from the throwing power. So what we want to do is hold the ball right over our throwing pec. I'm left-handed, okay, and then just off of our sternum. So we're going to use Matt and show you the ideal ball carriage. So Matt's going to take this in his left hand even though he's right-handed, okay? He's going to drop the ball right down by his side. He's going to leave his biceps and triceps nice and extended, and then he's going to take his elbow and bend that and bring it right up to his pec. He's going to take his right hand, put it right on the football. So these are equal opposites, and if he turns and shows you, that's the ideal ball carriage. You want a little bit of tilt to it, but you want it right over your sternum and just over your pec. That's exactly where we want to hold the football. So our number 2 tip is our ball shelf. So after we're in the pre-pass ball carriage, what does it look like right before we're about to drive the ball forward? So again, I'm going to have Matt take the football, okay? He's going to set his feet just outside of his hips for his platform, okay? So as he goes from his pre-pass ball carriage, he's going to go back into this load position. Now the tilt of the ball is basically personal preference, okay? But regardless, we've got to come back to generate energy for power in this load position, and then this is the ball shelf that we want to be in. It's a 90-degree position. Bicep and tricep are nice and flat. The forearm isn't extended. It doesn't dip back less than 90. The tip of the ball is not pointed toward the sky. So it's a nice 90 degrees. The ball is nice and flat. You can have a little bit of tilt to the football. It can go straight back. And then his non-throwing arm is going to be nice and disciplined right across his chest. That's the ideal ball shelf.
Okay, Greg, so now that we know like ball carriage and the ball shelf, why is it important that I have a 90-degree angle? Like, what if I'm kind of out of alignment?
So if you're out of alignment, so here's what's going to happen. If your ball shelf is beyond 90, so if that forearm is extended, a lot of times you're going to drive this elbow forward and you're going to slash and come out to the side.
And what does that do for your pass?
I mean, basically you're throwing sidearm, okay? If you're behind a line of scrimmage where you've obviously got an offensive line, having a low arm slot is going to be a disadvantage for you. You can also change the path of the ball negatively when you've got a slashing motion. So you're going to have less power, less accuracy, basically a lot of things fall apart. So the third thing we're going to talk about is base, okay? So the way that Matt has his feet right now is way too narrow.
You mean this isn't right? I shouldn't be throwing a football
No,
like this?
Absolutely not. There's a lot less balance. Your posture will be affected. You just won't have the platform, the stability that you need to throw the football. So what I tell our quarterbacks is to take your feet and just set them right outside of your hips, okay? Somewhere like right alongside your shoulders. You're going to have a little bit of bend in your knees, okay? Not too much, okay? You want to stay tall. Obviously, a taller pocket presence is an advantage for us. But you do need to have some bend in your knees just like any athletic position. So right there is the perfect platform. It's your feet, cleats in the ground. You don't want to play on the balls of your feet. You want to have ground force so your heels are not off the turf. They go flat into the turf.
So I feel like, we all play backyard football. A lot of us play, real football, tackle football. But I always feel like a lot of quarterbacks are like this. So
Right.
why is it that, we need to have a strong base? Why is it that I see people doing like this, and why shouldn't we do that?
So you want to have active feet, right? You don't want to look like you're cemented into the ground. But you don't want to bounce, okay? Because bouncing can create first of all, the timing of your throw is going to be affected. So especially as you get into higher levels of football, if that guy is open in that split second and you're bouncing around, now you've got to let yourself come down, then set your feet and throw. You do want to have some mobility, right? You do want to have your feet being active, but we never want to bounce, and then we never want to crush gravel. I see that a lot with youth coaches too.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
Yeah, not right. So our number 4 point is weight distribution. And what that basically means is how much weight is on your back leg versus your front leg. Now the ideal position for us is about 60% on your back leg, 40% on your front leg. You want to create ground force, okay? Cleats in the ground, firm stability, and then we're going to transition that into rotational force. So Matt has, as in point number 1, his base just outside of his hips, okay? He wants to feel about 60% in the back, about 40% in the front. Now as he's going to drive this back leg out of the ground to create rotational force, he's going to bring this weight through and he's going to finish right in this position. So bring this back, okay? If he had 80% on his back leg, 40% on his front leg, it's going to be very difficult for him to strike that front toe, and then he's going to come forward and be off balance. So again, we want to have weight distribution, 60 on the back, 40 on the front. So our number 5 point is posture. And that really is tying everything together. And we're going to talk about that foot strike that we just mentioned in the previous point. And then we're also going to talk about how the quarterback sets up at the top of his drop. Okay, so if Matt took a 5-step drop and he just sat in his 5th step, we want to have his base just outside of his hips, as we talked about in point 1. We want him to feel that 60% weight on his back leg, 40% on his front leg. Now his back, for posture, we don't want to have our weight over our toes, and we definitely don't want to sink it back. So really you want, it's almost like you're kind of sitting in a chair with your spine nice and flat. So our ball carriage is in the ideal position, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about foot strike and backstroke. So as he opens that front foot, he's going to also at the same time go into his backstroke or his load position. So foot strike and backstroke, okay, while he's maintaining that 60% on his back leg, 40% on his front leg. So the beginning of the throwing process is going to look pretty similar to this, okay? This is pretty darn good, okay? Backstroke and foot strike. Backstroke and foot strike. Now the rule is you never want to get the elbow above the football. So you never want to go into your backstroke by dropping the football down. The tilt of the football is personal preference. All right, some quarterbacks like to have that tip right back. Other quarterbacks will have a little bit of a tilt to it. Regardless, you've got to go into this load position to create energy for power. So we're going to go backstroke and foot strike. From here, we're going to go right up to our ball shelf. Okay, this was our number 2 point. So this is posture. This is the ideal position right before you're going to drive the ball out of the ground and transfer ground force into rotational force.
Greg just showed us 5 things that you can do to be a better QB, and we were on the field, but the lights literally just shut off on us. If you want more info or tips on QB training, or you want to check out the Instagram page for Next Level Athletics, definitely, how do you spell it?
NXTLEVELATX.
I'll
Next Level Athletics.
Put it at the bottom. Yeah. I'll also put in the link, of course, in the description. Definitely follow Greg at Next Level Athletics. Check out my Football Tip Friday video playlist, and I'll see you guys next time.